James. Hello.
Hey, Muriel.
Hello, everyone.
The program
Hello.
We're just letting people in. It's looking like we have people continuously coming in. We'll give them a few moments. We are so glad to see you guys again for the second week kickoff of our plant-based eating. I'm hoping that it went well for everybody. I am Chanel Brandon. I am your MC with the most. And I'm so glad to be here today. Work with Dr. Thompson. Let me make sure I put everybody, if you can, put your phones on mute.
First look at the Ravnica Clue Edition. This is a new box.
Thank you, guys. We're still letting people in here, so we're going to give them a few more minutes here. I'm going to admit these people in the waiting room. All right. Okay, so we're going to give it a few seconds. I know everybody's excited about this. I know we're going to have some good things in the chat, so we're really excited about that. We have some special guests. We have Dr. Gupta on today, and she's going to be talking about cravings. So we're in for a treat tonight. Please put your phones on mute, please. If you're not speaking, please put your phone on mute. And we're going to get started in 1 minute. I'm still admitting people. This is wonderful. Everybody's trying to be skinny for the summer so they can wear those dresses and those sharp suits. I know it because I'm one of them. I'm excited. I'm excited. All right. I think we got almost 50 people. See, Dr. Johnson, I told you we were going to hit it. We're going to do well tonight. So again, let me go ahead and get started here. My name is Chanel Brandon, and I am so excited to have all of you guys out here with us. Every time that I talk, it's 5, 6 people waiting to come in, which is a good thing. Please put your phones. We're going to start off by saying, please, if you're not speaking, put your phones on mute. Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you all. This is our second week for the 28-day plant-based kickoff that we're doing. Last week, we had our introduction with Dr. Thompson, whom I'm going to give the mic in a few moments. But tonight, we have Dr. Gupta, and she's going to express all about how to deal with cravings. So we're really excited about that. We have 2 more good weeks that we have coming up, and I'll talk to you further about that. But I want you guys to know that we are sponsored by Healthy Living with a Vision. And I am the secretary of Healthy Living with a Vision, and Dr. Thompson sits as our medical director. And on the call as well, we have Dr. Johnson, who is our CEO. Wave your hands, everyone. Thank you. We're so excited. We're pumped up like we're in the room together getting ready to exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to release the mic to Dr. Thompson. Go ahead, Dr. Thompson. Let's talk about getting healthy and eating plant-based.
All right.
You go easy.
We gotta have some muting going on here. Let's mute our phones and
You mute, James? We can't hear you. Your phone is muted.
yeah, when she mutes others, when she mutes the group, I get muted. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. Well, just in case you didn't hear, I said, good evening, Radiant Health and enthusiasts. I trust your week was as nourishing as a well-balanced meal. Missed our last gathering? No worries. Catch the replay on our thriving digital hub, healthylivingwithavision.org, or my personal digital corner, fearlessmd21.com. Dive into a treasure chest of recaps and insights from our previous town halls on our foundation website. Last week, we embarked on a green challenge to tally your average daily intake of plant-based foods. Kudos to those who embrace this. If you didn't, no worries. Let's cruise along with the standard American diet's modest 2 servings per day. Our second assignment was to curate a list of 10 to 15 plant-based delights that you like and to bring them into your kitchen. Now, let's turn those ingredients into action. If you are at 2 servings of plants per day, why not notch it up to 3 this week? My own journey began with a burst of blueberries in my oatmeal in the mornings and a trio of fruit, banana, an apple, and an orange as my workday companions. That's a feast of 4 plant servings right there. Today, I savor a lush 12 to 16 servings daily. And guess what? You can absolutely flourish on this path too. Gradually enrich your plate with 1 more serving of vibrant, minimally processed plant foods every 1 to 2 weeks. Now, I'm not here to preach on what to exclude from your diet. You're wise about that. Minimize that processed stuff, the processed meat, processed sugar, and the like, as much as you can. But I want the focus to be on fueling our bodies with wholesome, nutritious calories. Remember, fiber is your friend, especially when you're gently easing off meat and dairy. Whole grains and beans are your allies here. Just remember, go slow. A sudden fiber fiesta can startle your digestive system. This week's mission: elevate your plant servings by 1 serving of plants per day. A banana, an apple, a half cup of cooked greens or beans. Each is a step towards vibrant health. Also, choose a day of the week for a solely plant-based feast, perhaps a meatless Monday. The next reading assignment will be this. Dive into my latest blog on Fearless MD 21 entitled Embracing a Plant-Based Diet, a Path to Enhanced Health and Well-Being. It's a colorful primer on plant-based nutrition, and I posted it yesterday. I've also shared my top 3 go-to sources for scrumptious plant-based recipes. Scroll down on my website, that's fearlessmd21.com, to discover more than 50 dishes and desserts I've whipped up over the past 2 years. It's simpler than you think. Now, let's shift our focus to our esteemed guests. I met the brilliant Dr. Gupta on Clubhouse app around 2.5 years ago. We've since joined forces leading insightful discussions on vegan transitions in her virtual house on Clubhouse. That's an app that you can get on your phone or PC. Catch her on Sundays just past 11 a.m. Central Time. It's an hour of power. Dr. Gupta is a distinguished professor of social work at San Francisco State University. She is a powerhouse of knowledge, an alumna of the University of Texas at Arlington, where she earned her PhD. She's received numerous awards and is a prolific writer with over 80 research articles and publications and 60+ presentations in her domain. She's not a lightweight, folks. And Dr. Gupta, I meant that figuratively. She's an intellectual force, and I say that with the utmost respect and admiration. So without further ado, I'll pass the stage to Dr. Gupta, who will enlighten us on managing cravings and more. Okay, unmute.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. James, for such a wonderful introduction. I thought you would just say that I'm a professor at San Francisco State, and I have been vegetarian all my life, growing up in India, and of course, as you might have tasted Indian food in a restaurant, it is loaded with ghee and dairy and so forth. So when Dr. Thompson asked me to talk about cravings and family pushback, I said, oh, this is right up my alley. Because, coming from India, if you invite somebody or somebody comes to your place and you do not insist like 5 times, have this fried bread, 5 times at least, especially Watch Dominion would know from Lucknow, that if you don't ask your guest or put extra stuff on their plate while serving, it is considered rude. So, family and cravings. So talk about cravings and addiction. So growing up in India, being vegetarian, which means a lot of yogurt, a lot of ghee, and occasionally eggs, because we were westernized by the British as they colonized us. So egg came seeping in into the cakes and cookies and breads and so forth. And of course, even though my parents were physicians and my siblings are physicians, uh, medical doctors, they said, well, there's nothing wrong. This is great. We have been doing it for centuries. So, so my addiction to and craving for cheese, we didn't know much about cheese, as we know here in United States, with 20 different kinds of cheese. I don't know more than 20 because I haven't delved into all the different kinds of cheeses, but I have counted 20 in the grocery store. However, cheese was my addiction and craving, of course, because since I came to America, mozzarella cheese on pizza was a go-to thing, because there weren't too many restaurants way back, on the highway that would serve you something without meat. We are talking about 1970s and early 80s. So you go on, a trip to Niagara Falls from New York, and what do you encounter? Donuts and pizza shops. So the craving for sugar and salt and cheese, dairy, was so much that, even though we never had that in India, this craving was set in, living in United States. So when we talk about cravings, as that is the topic for discussion today, my craving is, and we define craving as a powerful desire for something, for example, chocolate. And my cravings were like so powerful that every weekend we have to have mozzarella cheese loaded, and then they started loading it in the crust, as if cheese was lacking on a pizza. They infiltrated the crust with cheese. So this is how my cravings started, with for cheese. And I think I became addicted. So when we talk about addiction, it is a definition of addiction is physically and mentally dependent on a particular substance and unable to stop taking it without incurring adverse effects. So, of course, I was in denial, and I thought, I don't have addiction for cheese and dairy and so forth. Uh, and and this was me in a state of denial, because I said, well, I eat it only once a week or twice a week, and that's it. And but if you are thinking about it, then you are experiencing adverse effects. So my adverse effect was on the body. So I became overweight over time. I came to United States, 100 pounds, and now you don't want to know what my weight is. But it is all because of the diet that I was consuming. White flour, which is the crust of the pizza, and it is loaded with the marinara sauce, which is another addiction, and then topped it off with cheese. So it is a storm, and I didn't realize that I was part of the equation. and a couple of years ago, which was about 2011, 2012, I was writing a paper for the Council on Social Work Education, and I was going to publish it. And it was on sustainability, and it was published. And so I had to do a lot of research, and that is where I came across, the videos, which is Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy, what the hell, tons of videos, and that took me into this mode of how could I do this? How could I not know that dairy was bad for you and that it is an abuse of an animal? So even though, the cow came to our house in India and the milkman would, get the milk right in front of our eyes, I didn't realize what was behind the scene where the cow was being artificially inseminated, because the cow didn't say, "Well, I agree to be impregnated, and I want to give my milk to this family." So inadvertently, I was part of the abuse of the animal by consuming dairy. So, did I have adverse effects? Yes, I was having adverse effects, and so if you want to know the second slide, please. So what is addiction? Addiction is that when you can't stop thinking, and you have adverse effects. It is like alcoholics, and they drink alcohol and still continue doing it because they think that they can stop it. I was also experiencing adverse effects and not knowing how to stop it. And that brought me into a whole food plant based journey, and where I am now, fighting for the rights of animals. I'm part of PETA, who I give regularly every year. But the point being is, dairy is an addiction, and because there is some substance called casein or casomorphine, which has the same addictive properties as would cocaine. So there are a ton of videos on which I can tell you in my next slide, with Chef AJ and Joel Furman, that are related to cravings for sugar, oil, salt, and white flour. So these are available, it's free. And then Vera Terman, another doctor, she talks about food addiction, which is hormonal. So, when you are hungry, then you have the hormone ghrelin that gets activated. And and um, and when you continue eating after you're full, it is the leptin, because the brain hasn't shut off, and you say, okay, well, I am done. So the reason why people continue to eat even after they are full, it's because of the neurochemical dopamine, serotonin, and endorphin. It is the dopamine that keeps saying to us, oh, I can have more cake, I can have more of the chocolate or whatever craving you have. So there are several videos that I would like for you guys to look at. There is by Chuck Carroll with Dr. Neil Bernard on cravings for sugar. There's another one by Chuck Carroll with Dr. Jasmine Sardana, How to Stop Sugar Cravings. And then there is the last one with Chef AJ and Dr. Leslie about unsupportive family criticism, self-indulgence, and status crisis. So the point being is, the reason why we are emphasizing the cravings for sugar, oil, salt, and white flour is because they are all part of they are not part of healthy living. So if you're craving sugar, like white sugar, uh, gradually you have to eliminate it, because what happens is that all the inflammation in the body, and we know there is inflammation if you are overweight, obese, or have health issues like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, autoimmune diseases. All these are indicators that there is inflammation in your body. And I should have known that I have inflammation. My siblings, both physicians, one had a liver transplant in so he had fatty liver in 2022, and my sister got the second stroke again in 2022. And these are physicians, and they could not control their sugar, white flour, and processed food craving, because now in India also you can call like Uber Eats, something similar to Uber Eats, and get all the processed restaurant kind of food available, because they are craving it. They can just get the phone and get it delivered. And they have these things where in 10 or 15 minutes, if you do not get your food, it is free. So the restaurant industry is catching up to people's demands. And so if you think that you are not uh, addicted, think about as are you powerless over your craving for sugar? Because if you are, then you have to say, well, what can I do instead of eating white sugar in form of cakes or cookies and so forth? Is there a better alternative? And yes, there are better alternatives, which Dr. James talked about earlier, that you can have a piece of fruit. Fruit has fiber in it, and it is good for you, and it is natural. So instead of having white sugar in any form, like for example in sodas, and even if it says sugar free, it does a number on your gut biome. So so the thing is that it is not very easy to get rid of something after you have been exposed to it for 20-30 years of your life. So I get it, because as a social work professor, I train students how to help families with addiction, with different kinds of issues. So once we realize that we have a craving or addiction over something like oily greasy food, or for example sugar and white flour and salt, then like they do in Alcoholics Anonymous, first you have to accept that I am powerless over these, and I am willing to make a change. Because once you realize you are willing to make a change, that is when the rubber hits the road. That is when we start making changes. So my next slide, and I think the next one, is why become whole food plant based? Why do you want to become whole food plant based is the question. Is it for health reasons, or do you have a family history of any kind of disease? Uh, 87% of Americans are overweight and 42% are obese. That is a big number. And guess what? If you see the movie What the Health, you will find that it's on YouTube and Netflix, and you will find that the meat industry, the dairy industry, and the pharmaceutical industries are in cahoots with each other to make us sick. This is done purposefully, folks. It is not a random thing, because there are people who are making lots of money making us sick. So that is, health reasons would be one reason why you want to become whole food plant based, or you are compassionate towards animals and you do not want them to be slaughtered and the flesh served as flesh of dead animal served on your plate. So that may be the reason why you want to be whole food plant based. Dairy is also the same thing, that when they get the milk, and they get the milk because the cow produces milk only when it is after its pregnancy to feed the baby calf. And I did not connect this thing that it is only after the delivery of the baby calf that is when the cow will produce milk. There was so, and after they have been injected with hormones, so milk is the cow is given hormones, injected hormones and antibiotics, because there is pus formed in the nipples of the cow. So when we are consuming meat and dairy, both these things are part of the meat and dairy that we are consuming. So 1.5 billion animals are slaughtered, and the same thing with fish. So if you think fish is not an animal, it is sentient, and it feels pain. So the third reason might be climate change, because the meat and dairy industry is harming the environment, as animals are raised in crowded conditions, and the feed for animals requires clearing of forests, and methane from animals is harmful for the environment. So you can take your pick, which is the reason why you want to become whole food plant based. Because I am in the area where I help folks to transition to a whole food plant based lifestyle, because I believe that when you have knowledge about what is happening, then you can make informed decisions about how to navigate, where you're surrounded with sweets and holidays, with Valentine's Day coming, and there are hearts and so many things, and chocolate. So how do you get rid of, or curb your desire for sugary stuff? So then the next question is, once you know your why, then what is your level of motivation to be whole food plant based? Are you how badly do you want to get rid of the disease, or get into the area where you would feel comfortable in your own skin?
Go ahead, Dr. Rashmi.
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the level of motivation to be whole food plant based. So, what would be your reasons? Would it be for a healthy mind and body, and the healthy gut biome, uh, or what is your, and how would one become accountable? Because these are three parts of the equation. When we want to do something, when you have a goal, then how do you reach your goal to be whole food plant based? And like Dr. James said, that we do slowly, because anything that is worth doing it right, versus go through it and then relapse and then come back again. So the idea is to get to a point where we lessen the cravings, and and so once you pop meat or dairy products, you cannot stop, and that is one thing that we need to be accountable for. So we would have a journal or a sponsor like Alcoholics Anonymous to help us get in track. So that is the way to do it. And meat and dairy, the last slide is about an interview with Dr. McDougall. And then there is another interview on YouTube, which is that every day you're supposed to have the acronym G bombs: green, beans, onions, mushrooms, and seed. That is the acronym for G bombs. And Dr. Will Bushwitz, a gastroenterologist, will say that every week you are supposed to have 30 different plant seeds, legumes per week. So I would like to know if you have any questions at this point.
Well, we're about running out of time anyway, Dr. Gupta. So the last segment is reserved just for all question and answers. So if you have any final comments, why don't you go ahead and then we'll open it up to question and answer.
Okay, so Willie Brown asks, can you say the full form of the acronym G bombs? So the G bombs is greens, green leafy vegetables like spinach, chard, kale, any of these greens. Beans are, the dried beans that you get, which could be lentils, mung beans. If you go to the store like Sprouts, you will see whole bunch of different kinds of beans. Onions, you can have any kind of onions: red onions, yellow onions, any kind of onions. Mushrooms, so the new research is showing that mushrooms are not only good for your health, it is also good for your brain. And the last one is beans or berries. Berries is all kinds of berries, like blueberry, strawberry, blackberry. Any kinds of berries are needed, the G bomb. And the last one is seeds. So what do we mean by seeds? Chia seeds, flax seed, pumpkin seed. There are so many different kinds of seed. So we are supposed to consume these every day. So I have started this, like in the morning when I get up, I plan what I'm going to have. So like Dr. James said, that you plan what you're going to have. So fruits, apple, banana, orange, that is a must. Then I have the frozen berries, because berries get bad really fast if you don't consume. So I get the frozen pack from Costco and Sam's. And so, a cup full of berries. Beans, onions, greens are always there because, we are into making different kinds of things with beans and greens mixed together. And mushrooms are the ones that I am kind of lacking in. Seeds, no problem, because chia seeds, and flaxseed are part of our nut based granola that I make for us for the whole week. So this is basically the thing. And if you are interested in knowing or having me as your sponsor, I would be more than happy, because on Sundays, 11 o'clock your Central Time, 9 o'clock my Pacific Time, I am there to help people with, transition to a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So Chanel, here we are.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We have appreciated and appreciate you, Dr. Gupta, for talking to us about these cravings. I've been over here putting little notes in for everybody so that you can see in the chat about some of the conversations that Dr. Gupta had on tonight. One quick question we have here is there any good bean substitutes? Will not eat beans, but string beans. I know who that came from.
Uh, so if you can tolerate, if you can't eat beans, and the reason why some people can't digest beans, because they've not been used, so the body goes into a painful mode. So the way that you do beans is to soak them for 8 hours and then cook them in a slow pot or Instapot. So if you, even after you have tried the lentils or other kinds of, there are other things like tofu. And if you have not tried tofu, which seems like white cake, you cut it into pieces and throw some um uh, you know uh, uh, throw some black salt and you cook it. Many people have swear that it tastes just like eggs, like scrambled eggs. So there are substitutes for if you can't digest beans. But like I said, that you have to start very slow with beans. And I understand that, some folks might have difficulty digesting them.
Okay.
Oh, where
Awesome.
can I find black salt? Black salt or kala namak, KALANAMAK, is, you can find it in Indian grocery store, or you can find it online. Indian grocery store is cheaper because, we use this black salt for different kinds of dishes. So so if and I bet Chicago has a lot of Indian stores. uh, and another spice that we use quite often is turmeric, which is known to lessen inflammation. So these are like a must. Onion, ginger, garlic. This is like a paste that I make, and turmeric, cumin, all this are also part of it. And I make a lot of it on the weekend, and I keep it in the freezer. So whenever I have to make curry, guess where? In 10 minutes or less, we have curry.
Okay. That's awesome. All right. Again, thank you, Dr. Gupta. I wanted to also let you guys know, let me pull it up here, that on next week, we're going to have Dr. Priya. And Dr. Priya is going to teach us about exercising for how long and how often, and about sleep. Is 6 hours enough? And the impact on the planet and all living things is going to be by Watch Dominion. So we're really excited on what next week has to offer. And before we turn it over to Dr. Thompson, we're going to turn it over to Dr. Johnson, who has a few words for everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Chanel, and who's always stands in the gap for this organization. Just real quick, a public service announcement. Do not forget, everyone got on the Healthy Living with a Vision .org website. We are sponsoring this program this evening, and I want to remind everyone we are a 501c3 tax deductible non-for-profit organization, and what we want to expand this program. Now, this is online, this is free, we have no sponsorships, but we also want to expand this to in person. So we'll in person be able to do cooking demonstrations and bring samples and talk to people directly. And our mission is to eliminate healthcare disparities in historically underserved communities, which basically, in most cases, are communities of color and also rural communities. So we want to, that's our mission. And we're getting back to our base of having people live the best life that they can, healthy, and a lot of that is food. Diet is 80% of it. We see a lot of patients living with diabetes and hypertension in our offices, and we talk about how is your diet? How are you? How active are you? So again, I would encourage anybody, if this is beneficial to you, please get on our website and make a donation, whatever you feel comfortable, whatever you can afford, so we can expand this even more. Everyone here is volunteering. Dr. Thompson is our medical director, and Ms. Brandon is our secretary. We have several other members here on our board of directors. I don't want to take up a lot of time to introduce them, but I also want to remind people that on our website, we have a recording of last week, and Dr. Thompson has put a summary on what went over in your projects, and the same thing will happen for this session. So please stay engaged, and we're going to move on to questions, which is, I think, is the most exciting part of all of this. You've heard from the experts, but let's learn from each other and get your questions answered. So thank you. I'm turning it over to Dr. Thompson.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Johnson. And thank you, Dr. Gupta, for a very informative presentation. I just want to add a few comments about cravings, and that is, we usually want to define the nature of your cravings, because sometimes cravings are physiologic, meaning you might just be hungry and low on calories. So you'll crave more if you've been eating low calories. Some people jump into whole food plant-based and they go straight to raw, eating a lot of raw vegetables and fruits, and they don't have much in the way of beans and grains. And so they are low on calories relative to what they've been used to for years. And so they are more hungry and they have more cravings, and they're more likely going to have a lower threshold to eat the bad stuff, the stuff that's not good for you. So one thing is to make sure you have enough calories, make sure you're eating a balanced plate with enough whole grains. If you don't like beans, maybe hang out more with the whole grains and the as Dr. Gupta said, some of the soy products. The other thing is some people have cravings on the basis of not having enough rest. So if we're going to talk, Dr. Priya is going to talk about that next week, but that's another reason people will sometimes go beyond what they intend to do and eat a lot of food, some junk food, and stay up too late. So I found that when I hit my bedtime, I tend to not get hungry and munch on things I shouldn't be eating at night. So if you get that 8 hours of sleep, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, often you're not going to be having so much cravings because you're asleep. So just think about that. So it helps you in multiple ways. The other thing is hydration. You get so busy sometimes when I'm working on projects, and I'm sometimes working on several projects at a time, you don't drink enough water. And so when you're dehydrated or you're behind on water, your cravings can come out too. So sometimes just drinking a glass or two of water will extinguish that craving. You have cravings early on when you're really making changes because your taste buds are way up there with all the high sugar and high fat. So it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but realize that as you go along, it gets easier. I mean, it really gets easier. I used to have Snickers cravings and Chips Ahoy's cravings. I could eat a whole row of Chips Ahoy's. But as I got further away from it and my taste buds came down to earth and I enjoyed the flavor and the fullness of fruit, it disappeared. I can walk right by Chips Ahoy and some of my favorite junk foods because I'm fully balanced with micronutrients and with fiber containing foods. So those are things to think about. There's some people that eat emotionally, and sometimes that needs to be addressed while you're eating, whether things you can do to reduce stress or reduce some of the stressors in your life that can help. And having a distraction, I found too, when I have a craving, if I distract myself, maybe I go away from the kitchen. One thing I found, I do not need to be studying or reading or doing stuff on the laptop in the kitchen, especially when I have other family members that have the temptation around you. So, hang out where you don't have that temptation. Don't bring the stuff in the house. If you're in total control of your grocery list, don't bring the temptation in, because believe me, there'll be times when you're going to go after it. But it's hard to go after if you got to run out your house and go to the store. So I just want to add those tips. Chanel, any other questions that have come up? I know also the other part of this was Dr. Gupta to address, what about family and friends that, are looking at you and saying, you're not eating much meat now, you're eating all these veggies, you're just eating like a rabbit, and they get a little critical. So I thought you could maybe address
Yeah.
that.
Yes, absolutely. When you have friends, and this is something I have been dealing with practically all my life, where family and friends are not on board with your whole food, plant-based lifestyle. The idea is not to criticize them, because they feel, when you are bringing your veggies and so forth, they might feel that you are somehow higher status and that you are putting them down and so forth. That has a total negative effect, versus saying, here, I have made this. You go to a potluck with your family, or you cook a meal and you say, here is the meal that I have created. And surprise, surprise, I have fooled myself also that recently I was told not to put any oil, not even a teaspoonful of oil. And I was surprised that I could make a dish, a curry dish, without any oil, just water, so using a bouillon. So the reason why family feels that a pushback from family is because, first, they might not be aware that you are doing it for your own health. So you should explain. But I explained to my family that my sister had a stroke and my brother had liver transplant, and now I need to be cautious about my own health because it runs in the family. So and then they back off. The other thing is that if they feel criticized, then they are going to not feel so good. So the best way to handle family is to introduce them to your whole food plant-based lifestyle. Have them taste the dessert that you made out of mango and without sugar, and without any oil or butter. And there are lots of recipes on forks over knives website, and you can make desserts. So start them with desserts, and then introduce them to different kinds of plant-based foods. And once people get hooked to it, that is when you have achieved your goal. So the goal for us is to welcome the family by introducing them to your own foods, and let them be aware that you're not going to die emaciated without meat and dairy. So those are the things that you don't want them to feel that they are self-indulgent. And there is a nice video on by Doug Lyle on YouTube on how to handle family when they are insisting that you also try their meat, dairy, and junk food. I hope I have answered the question about how to deal with family.
Well, thank you for that again, Dr. Gupta. Thanks again to all of you guys for tuning in with us this evening. Let's see, Dr. Johnson, can you give tips on handling cravings when you go out to eat? Is what Dr. Johnson wants to know.
Okay, the tips are first of all, if you know you are going to a restaurant, you look at their menu online, because nowadays everything is online, and you look at, because most of if it is not a vegan restaurant or vegetarian restaurant, they will have side dishes like baked potato, salads, and so forth. So look at the menu and see that, and you can also call ahead, and ask them if they can make, a dish, an entree, which is whole food plant based, and so they can make something for you. And most of the times, since they want your business, they would be able to cater. So that is one way when you're going out to eat. Second is that eat ahead of time, so that when you go to a restaurant, you're not like, oh, I'm dying of hunger. That happens to me. We went to Mexico, and the and the only thing vegetarian was chilaquiles, and for a week we lived on chilaquiles, because that was the only vegan thing, besides stuff that you can buy from the grocery store. So anyways, uh, eat something before you go. Carry some like celery, peanuts, or carrots in your bag. Cut up apples are good to go. So be aware that you will face these challenges, and be prepared. So the whole deal is about preparation, because we are transitioning into whole food, plant-based lifestyle.
Thank you. Now, we did have also another message from Teresa in regards to, can we look into maybe having a support group on Facebook? So that's something, Teresa, that we will investigate, and we should have a follow-up with that. So I will follow up once we talk to everybody, and then we may be able to make that decision. So thank you for that question. And that about ends our questions. I know Dr. Thompson just put in something, he's letting you know about the objectives for this week. Add 1 additional serving to your daily menu. 2, choose a day of the week to go meatless. And number 3, read his current blog on plant-based eating. And that's on the website, fearlessmd21.com. Again, we're Healthy Living with a Vision, sponsoring this wonderful 28-day kickoff. We can't do anything without your sponsorship. So please look at our website, give, donate to us so that we can keep making this happen for our community. We appreciate you guys. And Dr. Thompson, you want to send us out with a bang?
Yeah, sure. I just want to piggyback on thanking everyone for coming into this virtual space with us today. It's been, I'm sure, very informative. I'm always learning when I'm in this space myself. Dr. Gupta was excellent. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. And the audience had wonderful questions. I'll just reiterate that we have a riveting theme next week by Dr. Priya, a pulmonary care, critical care specialist, who is also plant-based, that will talk to us about sleep and how it's important to get certain quantity and qualitative sleep. She will also talk to us about the role of exercise. And as Janelle mentioned, Watch Dominion, who's been in the room tonight, will also give us some comments on the global view of going plant-based. Last week, we talked about the importance of having an accountability partner. So I'm hoping that maybe through some of this interaction and maybe through a support group on Facebook has been requested, we can facilitate something like that, if not this time, for future. We do plan on having things go beyond these 4 Tuesdays, where there'll be a check-in at least once a month and maybe through that process, we can render a support group on Facebook or some entity. So there are ways we can certainly do this, but accountability person would be very good. Reach out to someone in the chat if there's an interest, or send us some, maybe just send us a message one way or another through our foundation, so we can perhaps facilitate that. So thanks, Chanel, for being such a great host, and thank you, Dr. J, for the vision and the leadership. Thanks to all our board members that are online today in this room.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you. Have
night.
a great evening, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Great session. Thank you,
Oh, it's
Dr. J.
over.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi.
Thank you,
Hi.
Dr. Gupta.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr.
Thank
Thompson.
you.
Great job.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Dr. Thompson, I love the pictures on your website of all the recipes. They look so delicious.
Thanks. Thank you. They were.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
All right.
I'm drooling on my phone. Is that okay?
Just don't get
Long as it
shocked.
stays on the phone.
Watch out for that shock, that's all. So
Looking forward
once
to next week. Hey, Byron, how you doing, man?
is that B right?
Yeah, that's be
Hey,
right.
what's going
Don't
on,
be
man?
wrong, be right.
There's
Hey.
Pam.
Hey,
Hey,
Pam.
how you doing?
Yeah, it was
All
a
right,
good meeting.
all
We
right.
had to join late, but I'm especially looking forward to the next week's
You know, and you
talk.
know why, James?
Why is
Sleep.
that?
He,
Sleep.
you know,
Oh yeah.
he needs a sleep intervention. Okay.
Intensive,
Well,
dude.
we'll
Yeah,
definitely have some tips.
I saw you nodding off.
I saw you. I saw you say just the kind way of. You're looking pretty chilled there, bro.
Great presentation, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got to go on your website and check out some of the stuff, because Pam and I talked about really gearing up for this, and so it, like everything else, it seems insurmountable when you try to look at yourself being at an end point.
Yeah.
So, because it as you said, Ansel, it's kind of tough. You go into a restaurant, you want the things that you're used to eating because it feels comfortable.
So, Ansel, you're eating like James now?
Oh, I got a ways to go, but but hanging out with James, honestly, I have moved the needle farther that way.
Is that
So
right?
yeah, very honestly. So yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is more it's state of mind in terms of the journey.
Yeah.
Intention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's the journey itself. So long as
Mhm.
the journey's not going around in circles, you're okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
all right, guys, we're gonna get out of here, and then we got to just be intentional with this, and so I start making forward steps, and just instead of just kind of going side to side.
Yeah.
Going,
Well, this
going in.
process that is being expanded each week is a very gradual process. We were talking about just adding a serving of whole food every 1 to 2 weeks, to not so much focus on the stuff you got to avoid, but focus on the stuff you should eat.
Want to include.
And eventually, you don't have enough room or space as you move up that that ladder, you don't have much room or space for that other stuff. So that's kind of the point. And so I think it gets easier as you go along.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's not a perfect science. As Dr. J said, I really moving the needle. When you move the needle a little in this space, the repercussions, the outcomes are actually a lot. I mean, when people just increase by 3 or 4 servings their whole food, which means they're decreasing some of the other calories from other areas, you're adding years onto your life. It isn't a perfect surface. It isn't a perfect scenario. It's not a zero-sum thing. Every bit counts. So,
Mhm.
all righty.